Welcome to SHOT Show TV. I'm David Lombardo, and we're with an old friend of mine, Rob Pincus from the Personal Defense Network. Rob, you're not actually older than I am, but you kind of are. How many years have you been coming to SHOT Show?
This is my 25th SHOT Show. And of course, we skipped last year, so I guess that makes it 26 years in the industry. And I consider my first SHOT Show sort of my formal entry into the industry. And it's been an incredible 2.5 decades.
Yeah, I've been coming 10 years.
Yeah.
And there's been changes. I mean, the character has changed somewhat.
Absolutely. You know, now, when you look at SHOT Show from the late 90s and early 2000s, back when SHOT Show used to move around the country, and it was a lot of different places, it was a smaller show, and it was definitely far more focused just on that retail business. You know, what the National Shooting Sports Foundation really brings to the industry, first and foremost, is the infrastructure for the trade. How is the business done, and facilitating that business is really what SHOT Show was born in. It's what it was about, but it's changed. It's become a big media event. Obviously, the last decade of SHOT Show TV and your involvement, it's a big product release thing. The public pays attention to it. It's bigger, right? I think it's been up to 80,000 people in the past, and it's changed and grown. The law enforcement tactical. I mean, I remember when automatic knives, right, the Benchmade company couldn't show their automatic knives on the floor. There was no law enforcement tactical 15, 20 years ago. You couldn't have fully automatic guns out on the floor. And now the law enforcement tactical, of course, is the main reason a lot of people come. The self-defense industry has exploded over that last 2.5 decades. So is this year feels a little different? Sure. The pandemic's an issue and some of the major companies aren't here, but I just see opportunity. And it's day 2, right? Yesterday was full of opportunity for a lot of companies that might not have gotten as much attention 5 years ago.
Yeah, and it's interesting, when Joe Bartozzi took over as CEO, he really, it's like he looks after the members as people. He's got a youth program going. Now they got a suicide prevention thing going. I mean, it's more than business. It's become personal.
Absolutely. Well, for all of NSSF. I mean, I think the growth of NSSF, too, from not just sort of setting up that infrastructure and being in the background, they've come out in public. I mean, they do a lot more advocacy. There's training videos. You know, I've done a lot of work with the range and retail section of the NSSF, where we educate ranges on how to do better business, right? With integrating training into what goes on. I've taught at SHOT University. These things weren't happening 15, 20 years ago. So the industry's grown, NSSF has grown, and SHOT Show has grown and evolved. And, you know, the pandemic's a problem, but it's a hill to be climbed, not something to cower in fear and stay home because of, right? And obviously that's what's happening out here on the floor. Tens of thousands of people doing the business of the industry at SHOT Show, just like they should every year.
Well, and, you know, I've had several people email me from back home, and they didn't come because, well, nobody will be there this year because of that. And the attendance is down somewhat, but
attendance is down, but you got to wonder, right? A lot of people have said, and I'm one of them, you know, maybe there's too many people. Maybe there's some people here that aren't really doing the retail business. They aren't doing big media. They aren't doing product development or product launches. They aren't really here. They're here treating it like a gun show. We've all talked about it, right?
It's not a consumer show.
And this is not what that's not what SHOT Show is for. So it's interesting. You know, I talked to people yesterday. I did a couple at the Rob Pincus podcast. One of the things we did this week was talk to some people at SHOT Show about what they thought was going to happen. So day 1, I went to one person who this is their second SHOT Show. I went to somebody who's been here for 10 years, and I talked to somebody who's actually been here longer than even me, 27 years. He's been coming to SHOT Show, and asked them all in the morning, what do you think's going to happen? What are you expecting? And then I went back at the end of the day and said, so what really happened? And all 3 of them at the end of the day found some really big highlights that they didn't even see coming out of the lower traffic and, of course, the new forum area, right? So now we've got a bigger footprint. You're here on the main floor instead of out kind of on the edge where Radio Row used to be. There's a lot of positivity here, unless you want to be sitting on the internet at home being negative about it. And we know some people are going to do that. Let them do it. They're not here. We're having a good time and we're doing business.
Well, and the biggest critics are the people who don't ever actually do anything. They just sit at home and
it is, you know, but it's unfortunate though. I do see some people who have been to SHOT Show, people I've worked with, collaborated with in the industry who aren't here this year. And I think they were skeptical. I think they were concerned. I think they were worried. And some of it might have been health related. Some of it was business related. Some of it was maybe just, you know, spite and cynicism and skepticism at, well, you're going to have to wear a mask. I don't know if anybody's even going to show up. We showed up and we're doing, and I wish they were here. I really do.
And you're a nationally known trainer. From your perspective and from what you do, is the SHOT Show helpful?
It really is. A lot of the work that we do here is collaborating with our business partners. So for example, at personaldefensenetwork.com, not only do we put out the training information, but we put out a lot of product reviews, a lot of the gear. What holsters, how does this optic work, what about this new gun? And it's not just me, we have a bunch of different instructors. We've probably got about 10 people representing Personal Defense Network here, and they're talking to people about advertising, they're talking to people about sponsoring the tour, but most importantly, what they're doing is integrating themselves into the product releases, the marketing, and the product development for some of the best new products that come out every year. And some of that happens behind the scenes, and some of it's about video and articles that get written so people understand what the new products are. But honestly, that part of the business is something that can only happen in an event like this. We're making new relationships, we're putting our hands on the guns, we're out at the range days shooting them, we're putting the guns in and out of the holsters, and unless a company is going to ship a bunch of stuff to us all over the country, it's just not going to happen as efficiently as it does here. So this is incredibly important to our business from Personal Defense Network. For me as a trainer, no, because again, years ago, I'd be at the SWAT magazine booth when I was still writing for SWAT magazine, and I would talk about my classes to some people. But at the end of the day, the people walking the SHOT Show floor, they're not here looking for classes. They're doing business. Exactly. So other than the media interaction, it's not really about the training side.
The one thing I want to make sure that we talk about before we end this is this gun maker match thing.
Yeah.
Every time I talk to you, you got a new project, you got a new thing going on. Talk about that a little bit.
Gun Makers Match really was born out of the Corona pause, right? So we didn't have SHOT Show last year. We didn't have a lot of things last year. What I did at the end of 2020 was I got really deep into 3D printing and private gun making. And as I got to know the community of 3D gun part printers and frame printers, one of their frustrations was they said, Rob, we can't shoot these guns at a lot of ranges. Like, they won't let us bring our homemade guns. And as I looked into it, even companies like Polymer 80, which the Polymer 80 frame is just as good as a SIG frame or a Glock frame or a Beretta frame. They're polymer frames, right? And you drill them and then you put the parts in, you build your own gun. But there are ranges that have rules that say, well, no homemade guns, no privately made firearms. And it's liability, but a lot of it is just naivete. They just don't know how high quality a lot of these builds are. So I wanted to sort of help solve that problem. And my friends over at Guns for Everyone, I knew that Guns for Everyone National wanted to do sanctioned competitions around the country, but they didn't want to just do a Me Too. They didn't want to reinvent 3-gun or try to reinvent USPSA or whatever. So here it was a perfect marriage. Let's do a match for people who build their own guns. So we have 2 divisions inside of Gun Makers Match, and people can go to gunmakersmatch.com and learn about the 2nd annual event that's going to be happening in St. Augustine, Florida in March. But 2 divisions. You've got the division for the kit builds, the 80% finished guns, and then you've got the 3D printed guns. And people show up with their pistols, with their pistol caliber carbines, and with their rifles, and go through an action pistol match, something that would look like an IDPA match or a USPSA match, but they're doing it with guns that they built. And private gun making is a freedom hobby, man. It's fun and it's addictive, and it's really a great community. So I want more people to get involved, not just with our match, but really with private gun making. We know it's under attack. So-called ghost guns are under attack all over the place.
Absolutely.
And we need to push back. And one of the ways we push back is by normalizing it and say it's not nefarious, it's fun.
I always enjoy following you on Facebook because you're Rob Pincus and no one ever knows what you're going to say. It's your more recent one was the 1911 22 with the silencer, which you had me rolling on the floor.
Oh man, I tell you what, nothing better than a silenced 22, right? You put a suppressor on a 22 and that's just fun.
Yeah.
Until it's a malfunctioning 19.
Yeah, and you were not having good luck that day. Rob, as always, thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it. And we're going to have to get you back out to Illinois.
We will. We'll go there. And thank you for the work that you continue to do in Illinois and for the whole industry.
Thanks, Rob. For SHOT Show TV, I'm David Lombardo.